Today, I want to share a few pros and cons to working remotely or as a digital nomad. So, for those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Jessica Johnson, and for the past 5 or 6 years, even pre corona, I was working remotely, traveling around the world, and I've been to 35 plus countries with my trusty laptop in tow, making you videos from all around the world, which is why so many have different backgrounds, depending on which Airbnb or hotel or wherever I was on that given day. So I wanted to share with you a few pros and cons because I know some of you have expressed an interest in doing something like that yourself, taking a business on the road, working remotely, being a digital nomad, or just traveling more. And so here is my perspective on a few of the positives and negatives to take as a trade-off to the experience. So when you think about a few pros, I think that the first ones would be it obviously is a way to have so many experiences in your lifetime if travel is the kind of experience that you want to have. So I know a lot of people maybe not don't have the desire for travel, and this would not be your video, right? But if you do, if you have that call in your heart, there is nothing like having a different experience to pack your memory bank with almost every single day or evening. So even if you are working most of the day, as I do when I'm on the move, that going out in the evening for evening swim in the sea or a dinner with a cuisine that is not your normal cuisine, or just walking the local streets or having a tourist activity or something like that, you just experience so much. And even in looking back over a year, you'll just have so many memories from being on the road and traveling. And so that's, I think, one of my all-time favorite parts about it. And I store my photos now to Amazon Photos because I can go and see exactly the location and the date, and it's time-stamped with all that stuff. And it's so funny to think back to what we were doing even 3 years ago or where we were and remember that little moment in time. So I feel like I really started to get a lot more like juice squeezed out of every day when we began traveling. So that's one of my all-time favorite things that I for sure love. I think another thing is that you are living at this unique time in history when this is actually an option. So the fact that you can work from a laptop computer that talks to other computers halfway around the world, it like blows my mind when I think about it. I still don't even understand completely how this is possible. Like, the internet is just such a crazy concept if you really think about it, right? Like, you can do this work from anywhere. You can send a message that gets to another computer in a moment, wherever it is. So I think taking advantage of that at a time in history when you can, it's like, why wouldn't you? Like, why not go for it? You can learn anything online these days, whether it's copywriting, like I teach, or whether it's a million other online businesses. There's no longer this same structure of you have to get this 4-year degree, you have to go to this certain institution, you have to be hired by these people. Obviously, there's so much that's not fair or economically even, or there's a lot that we still need to overcome as a society around that and global society. But just the fact that you can go on YouTube and learn a skill from an expert, and then have that education and that skill to monetize forever is like incredible. So I think that's one of the major things, is like there's this opportunity at this time in history. So that's a major pro and advantage to take advantage of. Another thing would be that you can see way more places doing this kind of work, see the world balance in a year than you can maybe having one big trip every few years. So that's the way I used to think of travel, is I'd save up for 5 years or for 3 years, and then I'd go on this trip for 10 days. And that's great. I mean, however you want to do it. But I feel like if you can get to the place where you take one big flight to another part of the world, and then you're getting your work done, within reason, within respecting the visas and requirements of every place you go to, but you're getting your work done and you're jumping to another place in that region and then another place, and you're seeing like 10 places over the course of a few months before you go back home or whatever it may be. Like, that is such a great way to just maximize the amount of places and life you can experience in a period of time versus having to wait every few years for an experience like that. Now let's talk about some of the cons, because while it's an amazing gift to be able to travel and one that I'm so grateful for, like anything, there's trade-offs, right? So some of the cons would be you are living out of a suitcase. I mean, I live out of a carry-on suitcase when we travel because it just makes it easier to get on and off of planes, to not have to pay all the different fees, to not have to like lose time in an airport and instead be able to get places faster. But, you know, that means you have like your one sweater and your few tops and like your few bottoms, and that's it. And so that's great. It's enough for me. I feel like I would rather have the trade-off of seeing the world and not feeling like I'm the cutest runway show every day. But you definitely either have to get really clever at mixing and matching your outfits, you have to get really good at packing a lot into a small space, or you just have to get comfortable feeling like, I can make the most of this. I don't need all the creature comforts of home, including a full wardrobe. Okay, so that's one thing. Another con would be, I mean, it is tiring. So on that creature comforts note, you are constantly learning a new language, new transportation system, new place to get groceries, new way to do laundry, new structure for where you live and what the hours are and where the lights are. Like, every little thing is different when you're on the road often. And for some people that would just be like, no way, too much. For me, I don't mind it. I find that it's energizing to me most of the time, but there does come a point where you just really miss your own bed and knowing where things are, and, you know, knowing like exactly where you do your grocery shopping, and even like down to what things say on the packages. You know, sometimes you'll have to be using Google Translate or just doing the best you can to figure it out. And so that is something that you just have to navigate when you are on the move. And then I would say there's just little inconveniences often, you know, like with change anyway, there's weird things with Airbnbs where you might book it and it looks perfect and then it's just not. I mean, that's happened a million times to us. There's so many little things like that are just little inconveniences. But for me, the trade-off of all of these things is just so much greater to have the experiences and to have the memories. I just wouldn't trade it for anything. It's worth it to me to have those little inconveniences, to have all of these memories to show for it. And even the inconveniences become funny. So I learned this lesson when I moved to New York, and the day before I was supposed to go there, I got a message from the real estate broker that said, you know, the place you were going to lease has been overtaken by bed bugs. When you land, we're going to need to find you a new place. So getting into New York City on a red-eye flight, I got off, I met the broker, and I had to find a brand new apartment to sleep in that night, all within that same day. And that could be, it was so chaotic, but also if you just can go into things with the lens of, this will be a story to laugh about later. This is a memory I'm adding to my memory bank. This is something that when I'm 80, if I'm lucky enough to be 80 or 90 or 100 one day, I think I'll be so grateful that I had so many different experiences that it almost helps just put some grace and just acceptance around the crazy experiences. So I think, and that's what I do a lot with traveling, where there's always like little weird things happening, but if you can look at it like it's part of the story and the journey and it's part of travel, then it becomes a lot easier to deal with. So those are some of my pros and cons. I'd be curious to hear for you. If you travel, if you have been a digital nomad, if you've worked remotely, what stands out to you? What else do you have questions about? And I'll do my best to make another video or to answer them. You can also find me at Hi Jessica Johnson and shoot me a message in the DMs. But happy to chat with you there, and can't wait to hear what your experience has been as well. And if you are interested in learning more about copywriting as an online business that you can use to work from anywhere at any time of day, check out the links below this video where I offer a free training and so many other free resources to support you in getting started on that path.